All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to crack open the toolbox of modern software development and really decode the whole world of automation testing tools. You know that feeling, right? An app crashes on you or a website feature just stops working. It's super frustrating. So for the people building this stuff, the biggest question is always, how do you make these amazing things and make sure they stay amazing? Update after update. Well, the modern answer is you get robots to do the checking for you. Seriously, instead of a person manually clicking every single button 1,000 times, we write little scripts that do it for us, automatically. This is really the heart and soul of modern software quality. But here's the thing. Automated testing isn't just one magical tool. It's a whole collection of them, each one specialized for a different job. The real trick is knowing which tool to pull out of the box for the specific problem you're trying to solve. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into. Okay, first up, let's talk about testing what the user actually sees. This is the front line, right? The buttons, the forms, the screens you actually interact with. If this part breaks, well, the whole experience just falls apart for everybody. If you've been around web automation at all, you have definitely heard of Selenium. It's kind of the original powerhouse, the industry standard for a long, long time. Its real superpower is that it can control pretty much any web browser out there, and it's super flexible, letting you use a bunch of different programming languages. And then there's Cypress. Think of it as the newer, more modern tool. It was built from the ground up to fix some of the common headaches that developers had with the older tools. It's designed specifically for the kind of complex, dynamic web apps we all use today. And its big claim to fame is that it's just incredibly fast and way easier to set up and debug. So what you have here is a classic trade-off. On one side, Selenium gives you this massive flexibility. You can test across every browser under the sun. On the other side, Cypress gives you incredible speed and a really nice developer experience, especially if you're building one of those modern front-end apps. The choice really just depends on what your project needs. Okay, but what about the apps in our pockets, on our phones? For that, the go-to tool is almost always Appium. A good way to think about it is like it's the Selenium for the mobile world. It's open source, and it lets you write one set of tests that can run on both iPhones and Android devices, which is huge. It doesn't matter if it's a native app or just a mobile website. So we've tested what the user can see, but what about the engine? Now we gotta lift the hood and check all the parts that are working invisibly in the background. Think about it. Every time you log in, or you post a photo, or you get a notification, there are all these invisible connections firing off behind the scenes, sending and receiving data. We call these APIs. So, how do we make sure they are working correctly? Well, that's exactly where a tool like Postman comes in. It lets testers talk directly to those APIs. Send them a request and check to make sure the right data is coming back. It's like being able to check the mail before it even gets delivered to the user, just to make sure it's the right letter. Now, it's not enough for an app to just work, right? It has to work when thousands, maybe millions of people are all trying to use it at the same time. This is called performance testing, and a very specialized tool like LoadRunner is designed to do exactly that. It simulates a massive crowd to see if the whole system can handle the pressure. And we are not talking about a couple of users here. A tool like LoadRunner can simulate 10,000, 100,000, even more virtual users all hitting the application at the exact same moment. This is how you find out if your app is going to survive if it goes viral. Okay, so we've got tools for the front end. We've got tools for the back end. But look, just having a pile of tools isn't really enough. How do you get them all organized and working together in a smart way? That is where frameworks come into the picture. Because let's be real, as a project gets bigger, you can't just have hundreds of test scripts lying around in total chaos. It would be a nightmare. You need a framework. It's like a skeleton that gives you structure, with rules and libraries to keep everything organized and efficient. Let's just take the Java world, for example. You've got two really popular frameworks. JUnit is the classic, and it's perfect for something called unit testing, which is really just testing the smallest individual pieces of your code all by themselves. But for bigger, more complicated projects, people often go with TestNG because it's just more flexible and has powerful features, like being able to run a bunch of tests at the same time. And there are other ways of thinking about this too. Robot Framework is really cool because it uses what's called a keyword-driven approach. Basically, this means the tests are written in a way that's much closer to plain English, which makes them way easier for everyone on the team, not just the hardcore developers, to actually read and understand. Okay.
We've got the tools, we've got the frameworks to organize them, but we're still missing the final crucial piece of the puzzle. How do we build a system that runs all of these tests totally automatically every single time a developer makes a change?
This is where a tool like Jenkins comes in. You can think of it as the conductor of the orchestra. A developer commits some new code, and Jenkins just automatically kicks off the whole process. It builds the software, it runs all of our tests, the Selenium tests, the Postman tests, all of them. And if everything passes, it deploys the new version. This whole automated workflow is the heart of what we call CI/CD, or continuous integration and delivery.
Whew, we've looked at tools for the user interface, the backend, and the pipeline that connects it all. So with all these options out there, how in the world do you choose?
This slide right here, this is your big takeaway. This is your cheat sheet for the entire automation toolbox. You've got your web tools like Selenium and Cypress. You've got mobile covered with Appium. APIs are handled by Postman, and performance is tackled by LoadRunner. Then you use frameworks like JUnit and TestNG to organize everything, and you use Jenkins to automate the whole shebang. And honestly, that is the most important thing to remember here. Nobody expects you to be a master of every single one of these tools. That's not the point. The real skill is understanding the categories, understanding the problem you have, and then knowing which drawer of the toolbox to open to find the right solution. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. These tools are the safety net. They give developers the confidence to build cool new things and innovate without being terrified of breaking everything. They're how we make sure that great software stays great. So the only real question left is, what will you build with that confidence? Thanks so much for joining me.